Hey buddy, it's Peter and this is the 2025 Honda Transalp. Now this is a North American model, which means here in Canada and probably in the States, we finally get what I consider to be the best color scheme for the Honda Transalp in 2025. So this bike has received a few minor tweaks for 2025 to make it just a little bit better again. And this is a bike that quite honestly, sometimes I've overlooked, and maybe it was the color scheme, but I can tell you right now, I've recently bought a little 450cc adventure bike, which I like to call an exploring bike, and this bike is exactly that. Although it is an adventure bike, there's the Africa Twin if you really want to go hardcore adventure and you really want to go hardcore, all that stuff. But what you do end up with this bike is more of an exploring bike. It's a little bit lighter, it is a little bit less powerful, but it's got class-leading power, and you end up with a bike that is really enjoyable. And now that it's in this color scheme, it just really appeals to me more, which is silly because I'm not a color scheme guy. All right, we're gonna do a full review of this walk around review. I'm filming here at Riverview Honda, so what we're gonna do is try to show you some of the things that the other videos aren't showing you in this review, and I can come back to this bike again and again and again. So if you have questions about this bike that I don't answer, Riverview Honda gives me complete access to their entire vehicle lineup, so we can come back to this bike and make sure we get what you want. If you want to help me out, obviously like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff is great, but what really helps me out is if you watch, find a couple videos you like and just watch them to the end. It really helps me kind of spread and grow. We're adding a whole bunch of stuff to this channel this year, and we can do all that because this channel is growing. So let's get going with this review. So let's properly place this in a class. This is a middleweight adventure bike as far as the general standard adventure market is going to call it. Now, there are some things you're gonna wanna add some things before you go on huge adventure. You're gonna wanna add a heavy duty skid plate if you go on a heavy duty adventure, but in my mind, and this is not sort of the industry standard, but in my mind, the adventure bike category can be subdivided in a lot of categories. And this is what I would call an exploring bike. Now, absolutely, you can equip it right up for adventure. You can do all those things. But again, like I said, you're gonna have to equip it for certain types of adventure. If you're a hardcore off-roader, you're probably gonna upgrade the tires. You're probably gonna get some better protection underneath. If you're more of an adventurer, someone who wants to, or sorry, more of an explorer, someone who wants to go down every dirt road, every regular road, and you're gonna spend a lot of your time on the roads, but you want to be able to go down all those gravel roads and that kind of thing, which is the type of adventure rider that I am. This bike is going to be perfect as equipped. The only thing I might do is consider that if you're shooting gravel up from here, you are shooting it towards a oil filter, so that's something you want to keep in mind. That might want to get some protection into there. But other than that, you can add luggage on, you can add all those things you want, you can advance your riding skills and make it more off-road as you go. But as an exploring adventure bike that's great on the road and very capable on less than stellar roads, dirt roads and trails, this thing's going to be great. Now when I say trails, as equipped, it's sort of the, you know, the nicer, easier trails, but you can do more with this for sure. All right, let's start at the front wheel. So if you've ever seen my reviews before, you know I love to start at the front wheel because it talks about the manufacturer's intent for the bike. And what you have out here is an absolute great start for an adventure bike. First of all, gold wheels. They look fantastic. They also film better, which is kind of nice compared to black wheels. You do have a dual disc setup, so that's a lot more of a street bike type setup, 310 millimeter discs, so good size brakes here. And that's gonna be important as you ride along the streets. We got a helicopter going over top, so hopefully you can still hear me just fine. One of the things I like about this bike is it comes with a 21-inch front and 18-inch rear. That is the standard sizing for a true adventure bike. So even though for some people, these tires are gonna be a little more street oriented, they are in a size that you can get just about, well, literally any adventure style tire that you want. So that's a nice thing to have. You do have upside down suspension in the front here, non-adjustable, which some people complain about, but I think Honda's kind of nailed the tuning for the type of riders that are going to be buying this. Again, on-road, off-road, whether it's 50-50, whether it's 80-20, whether it's 20-80, I think these will work fine for a large variety of riders, and I think that works just fine. And then again, nothing fancy with the braking system. You got the dual discs, of course, not the radial mount or anything like that, so nothing for show here. Everything's just for function. The Metzeler tires, I think, would be perfect for my kind of riding. Like I said, a lot of on-road stuff and the ability to go off-road whenever I want on gravel roads and dirt roads. I think that's what they're perfectly set up for. But like I said, you'll kind of have an idea yourself if you need better tires from there. I will say the suspension upside down show a fork separate function fork cartridge. I can't remember how to say that exactly off the top of my head, but they are quality shocks, and that's one thing that's nice to have. One thing I really like about the Transalp is it's going to be a bike that feels a little bit smaller. And as we talk about the heart of this bike, this 270-degree crank, which gives you a better exhaust sound, a little more character to it. And again, a lot of riders like it, but it's also class leading, or basically class leading power in this, depending on how you define that class. What you end up with is something that's narrow, the weight's forward. So all of this is sort of street bike type stuff. You want to keep it narrow and low. And that means this thing handles really well on the road, but it also feels lightweight when you're going slower speeds, which might be around town or of course off-road. That's one of the key things of this. It is lighter than some of the competition, looking at you, Suzuki, and that does sort of make a difference when you're riding this bike on and off-road. So that's a really nice thing to have. And again, you've got an engine that a lot of people love. It's got a quick shifter, it's got a 6-speed transmission, it's geared well. So it's great on the road for exploring. And that's one of the nice things is some of these bikes, they lean off-road or they lean more on-road, but maybe not highway capable. Whatever you want to do with this bike, whether it's highways, back highways, whatever it is, it's got the power to do it, and that's kind of what makes this nice. But it's still light enough weight that it doesn't feel like a huge Africa Twin, for instance. So it really does hit the Honda's lineup very well, but also the marketplace in general very well. Jumping across this bike, this is one of the things I really like about the Transalp. It is a taller seat because it's an adventure bike, which means they have to give you the ground clearance that you want, but also still give you a comfortable seating position. This one's a blue seat. We're going to show you the seat in a second here. This is the standard seat. You can get a low seat height as well if that's what you need. So I'm about 6 feet tall. I want a bit of an angle here. So to get it actually level, I got to go a little bit that way, which makes me a little nervous leaning a brand new bike towards there. I can probably just about flat foot my heels as a 6-footer, proportional 6-footer. The tank isn't exceptionally narrow at the front, but it is narrow enough. And I can tell you that the general layout here is definitely roomy. That is something that is different than some bikes. You're going to have that feeling that you can go for a long time on a bike like this. So again, I got the kickstand touching the ground here. I can get both legs up here. I really like the seating position. Being a handlebar setup, you can move it closer and farther. You can do some things, but for my size, it's great. I think for lighter people, it'd be fine as well. The mirrors are up here on the handlebars, so they're nice and close to you. They're not exceptionally large, but because they're close, they're going to give you the view that you need. And there's been a slightly redesigned front end, so no adjustable windshield that I can tell. I don't think it's adjustable, although it does look like it could move a little bit. But it's not adjustable. That's one thing that is relatively standard for this class still that I'd like to see things move in, but it has been redesigned. They talk a lot about redesign for aerodynamics. I thought it would be redesigned for style, so I'm not sure if there's an aerodynamic benefit to the restyle, but they're certainly promoting that. So we'll have to see if we can get a riding impressions review to see if that's something that's better or different. I will say that this windshield is relatively tall. It looks to me like it's going to hit roughly below your helmet, that kind of thing that usually reduces buffeting. Obviously, if it has a windshield, you can go to the aftermarket and get all kinds of different styles. Once this thing's been out for a little bit, people will complain in various ways about what's wrong with it for their height and their size, and you'll have aftermarket windshields galore to fit exactly what you need. General riding position though, this is a bike I could easily take all day. You've got some room to move around here, and I'm not going to stand up because I am on the side stand here and I don't want to tip it over on this angled area, but they do talk a lot about how they've also properly put this bike for standing positions. So you've got everything you need for on and off road, and to me that's what makes this bike so great. You want to drive it completely on the road? Who cares? You can do that. You want to drive it mostly off-road, do a couple tweaks to it, you can drive it mostly off-road. If you want to just kind of generally explore everywhere, you're going to be comfortable doing whatever you want to do with this bike, and versatile bikes are really appealing to me. Before we take a look at the dash, I do want to show you this seat here because they do a lot of things right. First of all, there's some glare shining from somewhere off the building, I think, on this. So there's not like a streak there on the bike itself. It's just glare. I don't know if you can see that in the video or not. But you have a blue top, a little bit on the black side. I really like it. The texture is nice. It's fairly grippy, but yeah, it just feels good. The other thing that's nice about an adventure bike is they bring it up on the front, the seat here. So you can really move forward, move your weight forward. You're not scratching the tank. You don't need a tank protector, that kind of thing. You want to load up that front wheel off-road, you could do that. You've got room to move around, but you still have a nice delineation here for street riding. You've got the ability to have something behind you there, and the passenger side seat is good as well. One thing I do want to show you is the rear rack. You can see one thing here. I kind of use this angle on purpose. You've got a little grip piece down here, so if you're just strapping a duffel bag up here and across your rack, you've got some tie downs where you can do that in various places, which is kind of nice to have, holds things in place. Rack, of course, relatively level to the seat. Actually, it's just a hair step down to the seat there. So again, if you want to equip this up with side bags, top box, all of that's available to you. If you just want to throw a duffel bag on from day one, obviously you can do that as well. So again, all of this is about making this bike versatile. One little silly thing that I don't know that it matters much to a lot of people, but it matters a little bit to me, is you have a keyhole that's on the top, not on the side, not on the bottom. It makes it really easy to pop that seat off, and it just doesn't, to me, get as dirty in that situation. Now, I could be totally wrong, but I do think that that's kind of a thing that it's just a little detail that's easier to find and quick to pop. So the other thing is some Hondas make the battery absolutely impossible to find underneath the seats. This one's not that problem. This one's super simple, so that's nice to have. So taking a look at the dash on this bike, I'm not going to do a full dash review, but if that's something you'd like to see, by all means let me know and we'll come back to it and do that for you. So this dash can be set up in a number of different ways. This is one design that we have. So you've got the tachometer revs to 10,000 RPM, nice and clear. And of course you've also got and I really like that everything's evenly spaced on the tachometer. I know I talk about that a lot in my videos, but that is something that's nice to have. I will say you can see my hands here reflecting in front. This dash is clearer to read in person than it is on camera. That's just the way these dashes work. Lots of clear information here, fuel gauge on the left, warning information down there. Let's see if we can clear some of that. So there we go. You've got your odometer on the bottom there. You've got a lot of different things, fuel efficiency, that kind of thing, trip A, that kind of thing, trip B. So a lot of stuff down there. There's a lot of things we can show you through the dash. I don't want to bore you with it, but I do want to let you know that it's very easy to control. You can control things like turning the quick shifter on or off. You can control things like ride modes. You are able to set off the rear traction control by putting in a user mode, or sorry, rear ABS by putting in a user mode for off-road riding. So if you want to be able to sort of swing that back end around with the brakes, you can do that. So a lot of nice features in this dash, clear and easy to read, and you can also invert the colors, of course. So 4 different styles in there, and you can invert the colors to from black to white, white to black, so you can see a different day and nighttime thing. Maybe I should have done that for the video, but like I said, we'll do a dash video a little bit later. I want to move through some of the controls here because Honda does this very well also. So a little bit of an awkward angle here to show the left side controls. One thing I want to point out, you have a slipper and assist clutch, and this is legitimately lightweight. That is nice to have. I've got slipper and assist clutches on all kinds of bikes that I review, and some don't feel so assisted so much. So slipper and assist clutch, if you don't know about that, of course, if you dump that clutch at high revs, it's going to allow the clutch to slip instead of locking up the rear wheel, or at least it's going to attempt to do that for you, which is a nice safety feature. It's also kind of a nice racing feature. And for a bike that has a quick shifter, to have also a nice light clutch, if you want to shift it in town with the clutch, you can do that and without feeling like really fatigued, but you've also had that quick shifter. As far as the regular controls, push that forward, you've got your high beams on, tap it down, it's the regular lights, and then you can of course flash to pass as well. I will show you the lights in just a second here. You got your drive modes and the various things in here, user mode 2, so we'll switch through different things, standard, sport, rain, gravel, user 1, user 2, so there you go. User 1, user 2, you can shut off the traction control, standard, sport, rain, and gravel. I'm just reading off the dash as we go through some of these, so very nice to have that. The horn is well placed, although a lot of people think that's where your signal should be, but because it's flat, it's just fine. Signals down here. Honda reverses, compared to some bikes, the signal and horn, but the fact that this is almost like not reachable and you have to actually press it in means it's very easy to find that signal switch for people who come from different bikes. It's not going to matter if you own this bike, you're going to get used to where all the controls are anyways, but this is your little joystick, and pressing in works very, very well. Far side, why don't we show you that as well right now. Take a look at the throttle side. You got your kill switch, start switch all in one. That's pretty typical nowadays. And of course you have your hazard lights. This is something that you don't always get on bikes, but we're seeing it more and more on something that's an exploring type adventure bike. I really like to see that. I'm going to stay in the same shot here. I do want to show you one thing. If we can kind of go across here, let's see if we can do what I want to do. Yes, we can. All right. So we can show you right here. This is a dummy area where you could, actually it's rubber, not plastic. A lot of bike manufacturers use plastic. Anyways, you can throw in, I believe, a USB port, but for sure a 12-volt port in there to power up whatever you want to stick on the dash. If you want to stick your GPS or something like that on the handlebars there, you've got lots of space to do that, which is kind of nice to have. Quick view of the lights here. I didn't play with it too much. These are daytime running lights. They're not flickering for me in real life. They're only flickering for you on video, but it does show that they have the LED, and of course the signal light is going to be, let's put on the hazard lights, is going to be brighter. Hopefully that'll change the flicker for you. Yeah, see, you can see those are regular lights. Now again, they are brighter and show up better in person than they do on camera. I will say that the high beam here is, or the headlights here are quite nice as well. You've got that redesigned light, LED lights. They look fantastic in person. They're not going to show great on camera, but they really do look improved, and like I said, the camera doesn't reflect how they actually look, so you got to come see them in person to see that, but really nice look to those lights there, that updated front end. So let's talk about who this bike is for. Well, again, I've kind of overlooked this in the past. There's a lot of other adventure bikes out there. I do think though that this is a bike that if you're just looking from the factory for an exploring type adventure bike, this is going to be excellent. Now, saying that, I don't want to undersell the performance of this bike. That's where this bike shines. It's got that horsepower, it's got that fun character, really good engine. The engine is really one of the highlights of this bike, and that doesn't show up in a walk-around review. So it's not a boring, just cruise everywhere kind of bike. It's a great street bike engine as well that also is very capable off-road because of the design of the bike. To me, having that great engine in a really comfortable seating position, and it's probably one of the more comfortable seating positions out of the class, at least for someone like myself, and that can vary per person, but also having the windshield closer to you. There are some bikes that have small windshields further away from you, may not offer the same wind protection. This feels like a bike that it could be anything you want it to be. If you want it to be a fun street bike, it's going to be fun on the street. If you want to take it off-road, it's going to be capable of doing that. A couple things that it doesn't have, which some people complain about: it doesn't have adjustable suspension, it's only got preload adjustment in the rear. That's not the end of the world when you consider that you're getting quality components for a pretty good price as well. This bike is still priced well within the segment, and you get a lot, and of course you've got that Honda reliability as well. I was just talking to one of the mechanics. I said, you know, off camera, off the record, you got any issues with these? He's like, I just see them for oil changes. So again, Honda reliability can't be you know, understated as well. You've got that as well. So does that sound like the right kind of bike for you? I know I found out just today there's somebody in the showroom and they said there's a Transalp group here in Canada that follows these reviews. Do me a favor, share it with your friends, tell me what you guys like about it, leave some positive comments for me. And again, the types of things that you think I should point out, feel free to let me know, and I'll try to make sure I catch them in a future video. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. Thanks very much, and we'll have a whole lot more coming up. I'm going to review every 2025 bike I possibly can this year, including all of the competitors to this, so let's just keep it rolling. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.